Hello,
Hey, how's it
I'm
going?
Jason LaValle with Psychedelic Scene, and I'm here today with Cory Hanson of the band Wand. Thanks for joining me today, Cory.
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here.
The new album is called Vertigo, and it seems to be kind of a departure from Wand's previous work. How do you think your sound has changed from your earlier work, from your earlier albums to your most recent work?
Oh, it's like a consistent departure from previous works. Um, I think I mean, we've changed a lot in terms of lineup since the first few records. We've changed a lot in terms of approach and yeah, in the beginning I was the principal songwriter. I wrote everything, and then now it's a fully democratic organization.
Oh,
We
I would
write
have thought it
everything
would have gone
together.
the other way.
Oh, like I would have gotten
Well,
more megalomaniacal
it,
as the band, grew bit more successful.
it
Uh,
seems to usually go that way.
yeah, I know. Yeah, but it's different for us because a band at our scale, with the amount of investment, time investment and like labor investment that goes with being in a band, it just made sense at a certain point to share. It's like if we're sharing, the van space, the stage space, all this work, but not the creative labor, it just seems kind of strange.
Yeah, of
So
course, you do solo albums too. So maybe
yeah,
it's a little bit of a relief to have others in the band writing some of the material.
that was sort of in the beginning. That was kind of what was happening. Is we did those three records, and I wrote most of the music. I wrote all the songs, and I was feeling really burned out from writing by myself, and so that was how we started all writing together. Um, and it's cool. Yeah, it's great because now I can make my solo records and have time, to really like focus on those things that I do myself. But then there's also the wand stuff, which we all write together. So it allows for a lot of space for both those projects without feeling um, crushed by either like creative process or like burned out by it.
Sure. Your albums have a lot of strong thematic elements. What theme or concepts were you exploring with Vertigo? And I say this, I've listened to the album several times, but uh, I haven't analyzed the lyrics, and I just wanted to get your input.
I mean, I think we didn't really have any uh criteria for themes or even composition or anything going into making the record. It was a very organic process of just playing together without really talking about what we were going to play or what we were going to do, and just doing like free form improvisations in front of microphones, and then taking that material and then listening to it and then being like, what is this, piece of music, this unformed, free piece of music? What is it telling me? What is it telling us? And what is it saying as like a complete idea just by itself? The first step in that process was finding pieces of music that we had jammed out, that felt like they were saying something complete, like that they weren't, it wasn't like this little fragment of a song or something, or of a melody, or these are things that felt like they had integrity to stand up on their own. And then after that, you listen and be like, because there was only three of us playing on those jams, so it's just listening to all of those individual parts that we're playing and being like, what is that, piano part implying, or what is that guitar part, like what are the implications of this, rhythmically, melodically, compositionally, and then using that as a way to build a song, you know, eh, just sort of out of nothing, as opposed to, waiting for uh inspiration to strike or whatever,
Mhm.
writing something in like a more conventional way.
Sure. Okay. No, good
it's
answer.
it's a it's a weird process, but it worked for us, and I think it I wouldn't recommend it for any band, if you're just like starting out. I would never recommend doing this process because your band will end very quickly. It requires a lot of trust, and that trust is something that you get from playing for a decade together.
So is there, you mentioned that there have been a lot of lineup changes. Um, has there been like a core three of you playing for a long time?
Well, there's been um Evan Burrows, the drummer, and I have been consistent throughout all the lineup changes, and Robbie is sort of the next in line. We were like the three piece for this record, and then Evan Backer joined on bass and also uh, wrote all the arrangements for the strings and the horns and whatnot. Um, so yeah, that's so the everybody else was in the band for 3 to 4 years, sometimes 1 year, sometimes one tour, you know, and then
Mhm.
they were like, I gotta get the fuck out of this outfit.
Yeah. Well, I saw you perform recently, and I was kind of surprised at how heavy you sounded, how heavy Juan sounded. How do you approach transitioning your studio work into live performances?
You know, it took a minute to recompose all the stuff that's on Vertigo into live songs, but we did everything. Yeah, like we were, because it's such a dense studio record. It's got tons of strings and all that. But we yeah, it was just like again. It was listening to the songs and being like, okay, instead of how do we make this a bigger, lusher, musical world like we were trying to do when we were recording and mixing the record. Now it was like, okay, how do we reduce this again to its bare, simplest elements so that we can play these um, and have fun playing them and not feel like, fuck, I've got to like hit a bunch of triggers. I've got to like hit, some synthesizers and, make sure that all the sounds are there. It's like, that's not, we tried that, to a degree. And then quickly we're like, what, this is not fun. And I think fun is like, if you're going to go out and play for, 80 shows a year or more, then it has to be fun, and it has to feel like things are shapeable and like movable. It has to be kind of liquid, for it to feel like you're doing something different and not just like banging your head against the same compositions every night.
Sure, it's work, but playing music is supposed to be fun.
I have to remind myself that, all the time, and most musicians forget it.
Yeah. How does working on solo projects differ from working with Wand in terms of creative freedom and collaboration?
You know, it's it's more conventional, the solo stuff. Like I sit and I write um on a piece of paper and write lyrics and have like a writing process for that. Wand is like it's totally open canvas, like anything goes, and we're trying we're all very involved in the process. Everybody's like, even if there's like more like like any band organization where people have to take a more passive, back seat so that someone else can do something in that moment because they're inspired. That is a whole thing that Juan does that does not really happen with the solo stuff. It's just me, you know, writing things like a conventional songwriter that I've reluctantly become over the years. I really had no desire to be a songwriter for many years in that sense, because it sounded like something that was like really serious, or like whole with an acoustic guitar, sitting at the piano being like, God, I gotta say something really powerful and meaningful. I just felt like, well, what the fuck do I have to say? Who cares? I'm just a person. But then through doing Pale Horse Rider, really, and then Western Come also, I discovered like, oh no, like it doesn't have to be serious. It can be like humorous. It can be all kinds of things. It can be happy. It can be sad. And there can be drama, there can be light moments. And so now I sit and write at the piano.
What were
I do
those
that whole
things that
thing.
you just mentioned?
Huh?
You mentioned some things that I wasn't familiar with just now.
What? What?
Oh, like things that shaped your writing or something.
Oh, the Pale Horse Rider record.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Western Come was the second record.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see.
Those are records that I did.
I'm sorry, I should have known that.
Oh, that's okay.
Uh, do you have any upcoming solo projects or collaborations that you're excited about?
I do. Yeah. I have tons of stuff that I'm working on right now that in various states of production. So it's going to be a busy time the next couple of years for sure.
Okay. And you're going to be doing a European tour soon, is that right?
Yeah, with Wand. Yeah.
With Juan. Okay. Um, how has being a musician impacted your life outside of music in terms of personal growth as an artist?
Personal growth, like
Or, yeah, go ahead.
you mean human,
Human
like
growth, not as
human
an artist.
growth, not as an artist. Okay. But how has being an artist impacted my personal growth?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Um, I mean, I think it's not necessarily the best thing for personal growth. I think that in some ways, being an artist or being a writer, really, once you get into the process, it really creates this separation between um, what is presence, being in the moment, and it starts to narrativize every moment, because being a songwriter, you're constantly searching for a line, or a phrase, or something that's going to trigger this like avalanche of inspiration or whatever. And I read about this with in Keith Richards' autobiography. He talks about this a lot. That you kind of are, there's a separation. It feels like you're looking at everything through glass,
Mhm.
and so it can make relationships and also like my relationship to myself more complex than it has to be, or like because there's like a delay, you know. Um, but I think this is a more common problem that people have now, that everything is about uh, you know your social media persona, and having this separation, with your friendships and your relationships and yourself. That's you have that everybody has this kind of identity, um, this social identity through the phone. And I think it's maybe kind of like that. But the other thing is it helps me tremendously to document, to have documents of like things that have happened in my life or parts of my life, and to be like, oh well, this record I was going through this, and this record, like, oh yeah, I was, this thing was happening, and I remember records that way. um if you're like, in my case, I'm just making documents, like I would put them in a journal or something, but they're records. And for me, because I'm pretty honest about the work that I make, and earnest about the way that I make it, I can look back at them and see them that way without being like, oh yeah, like I was trying to do uh you know I was being, I don't look at any of my work and think like, oh, I was being really dishonest here, you know. I don't know, this, I'm sort of veering off in a bunch of different places with this answer, but it's a hard question to have a concise answer to.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great answer. Interesting that you kind of document your life through your albums.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they're there for at the end of the day. Is it's like a proof, to me, it's I love to document stuff. It's like my, like I take photos of everything, like analog photos. I'm obsessive about documenting, not my day to day or anything. I'm not taking pictures of my meals. I don't care about that stuff, but just
Yeah.
like little moments that where it feels, where I sense like presence, you know, I'll try to document it.
Wand is, of course, known as a neo psychedelic band. Are you influenced at all by psychedelic substances?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think the entire band is very much influenced um, by experiences, that very personal experiences that we've had with various hallucinogens, and um, yeah.
Do you guys trip together as a band?
Oh yeah, we have definitely, not as a like a unit, like with the purpose of being like a band tripping together, but we've all tripped together
Uh-huh.
uh plenty of times. um yeah,
Cool. All right. Um,
because this is a psychedelic magazine with it's about uh drugs.
well, it's about psychedelic culture,
Uh-huh.
a lot of music stuff. Um, but yeah, yeah, you're on the right track, definitely. We publish articles about personal psychedelic healing journeys and psychonaut accounts and so forth. So yes, we are interested in anything having to do with psychedelics. What are some of your favorite moments from your time with Wand, whether it be in the studio or on the road?
I mean, I love making the records. I think those moments I'm always the most fond of. Working in Sonic Ranch, um, near El Paso, Texas, and yeah, we got some mushroom chocolates from a guy named the Dragon. I think that was his name, the Dragon. And he gave us some mushroom chocolates. And on the last day, it was the last day of mixing, and so we mixed some music really high on mushrooms, and that was pretty fun. None of it, I don't think any of that made it onto the record, but oh, maybe one mix did. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, that was really fun. Working on Vertigo was probably the most fun I've had making a record because we just had no idea what the hell we were doing the entire time. And we all just had to be okay with that and be like, whatever this turns into, you know, if people hate it, if people love it, like whatever, I don't know. We're just like, we have to be, again, it was like about being honest about who we were and being like, because being in a studio is so much about masking, your mistakes and taking away all the rough edges and like making something kind of pristine. And for us, I think we definitely care about making the best possible sounding records that we can. Um, but we also care about the integrity of the performances themselves. And if we're like doing something that really feels like it's who we are as a group, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and I think that because we were doing that and just being ourselves, it's the most fun when you're working on shit like that and you're just, doing, responding to things comfortably, and being creative like with other people, and they're just like immediately being like, yeah, that's a great idea, or like, no, that's not so good. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like whatever. We're gonna we're gonna do this together.
Where would you rank Wand in terms of your total output? I mean, I'm sorry, Vertigo, not Wand.
Where would I rank it? Oh,
Yeah.
hard number one. Big
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Number
Okay.
one. I'd say, yeah, it's the kind of record that we all dreamed about making when we were kids. When I was a kid, I was like, I always wanted to make, a record that I felt like stood alone, didn't sound like anything else, and like took some serious chances. Um and it does something that most records don't do really for me,
Mhm.
um, which is that it's like somehow uh, it like rides a line, between there's like a tension between the like conventional song structures and like this like meticulously designed um, thing, and then on the other hand, it's constructed purely out of these like really simple rock and roll jams that are like supernatural, um like moments that we spent an eternity trying to get this like very natural feeling. I mean, we went through 50 hours of jams, to find these moments where we're like, there it is, that's the thing, that's what needs to be on the record, and then pulled that out, turned it into a song. So
Cool. All right. Well, last question here. If you could collaborate with any living musician, who would it be?
Joe Bonamassa. No, I don't know. Living musician. Living musician. Who's someone I would collaborate with? It's a good question. Why can't I think of anyone?
Think big.
Yeah, I mean Kanye West would be amazing,
Be
but who
interesting.
else? What's that?
That
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
interesting.
to say the least. Yeah, no, it'd be
Yeah.
great. But if he's up for it, um, yeah, I'm not sure who I would collaborate with, who I couldn't already just collaborate with. I think Kanye West might be the best answer,
Okay, we'll go with it.
believe it or not.
Well, Well, I'd love to hear that collaboration.
Okay. You'll be the first to hear it.
Okay. Well, Vertigo is out now. I think it's on all streaming services and it's in record stores. And correct me if I'm wrong.
What? Oh, yeah, it's out there.
It's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You can go to your local record shop, and if it's not there, you could probably order it through the shop.
Yeah. All right. Well, Cory, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Nice talking to you.
All right. Take care.
Take care.